story. So yeah, my QA journey started in 2013 with Konga. And I started as a novice, had no experience in software testing. Yeah, so I learned on the job. Um, 1 year into my career, all I was doing was basically manual testing. And then I used to hear my manager encourage us to learn automation. That's the go-to skills for us as at then. That anyone that wants to be relevant, he or she needs to learn automation. And second year into my career, that's 2014, I woke up to my manager and I told him I want to join the automation team. Why? Because I want to learn automation. The only thing I do then is manual. I couldn't learn automation on myself. So the feedback I got is, Toby, you are very good with manual testing. We need someone to test the mobile app, do all those manual checks and also still remain there. All right. Um, then I remember, I think after like some month, let's say 6 months down the line, I went back to my same manager. I want to transition. I want to join the automation team. My request was declined. So then I think I had two options. Since my manager said he likes what I'm doing in manual testing, I should remain there, or I find a way around it. So I chose the second option, which is find a way around it. And what did I do? The speaker for today, by the name Solomon Eshiet Anenka, we're both colleagues in Konga back then, and he was already doing automation. So I walked up to him, guy, Alpha, I want to learn automation. And he was like, the workload and all, I'm not sure I'll be able to teach you um, during the week or in office space. So he gave me an option, which is on Sundays, if I can come to his place. Then was staying in Arepo, that's after Beggar. If I could come to his place. And because I was hungry for this, I chose to go to his place every Sunday. Now, see the hardest part of this. That same Sundays, then I attend Winners. So I used to drive my parents. We had this Toyota bus. I'm the one that drives. And we leave home as early as 4:30 a.m. because we want to attend for service. And, Winners Road, then traffic to and fro. We normally get back home around 10, 11. Then I'll do like 1 hour rest, then hit the road again to my friend's place in Arepo to learn automation. You know, I did this for like 2 months and it was very supportive, taught me. Then after learning the skills, I decided to showcase what I've learned in the office. So I went back to my manager and I told him that, sir, I've learned automation. Oh. He said, oh, very good. But he still didn't add me to the automation team. I said, no, voila, I'll be learning on the job. Now, I think after like 2 months later, all the automation guys resigned one after the other. We had about 3 automation guys and they resigned because they got other jobs. Now, my manager was in a very tight corner. He needs to deliver automation. And he called me, said, Toby, you said you learn automation. I said, yes, sir. He said, okay, this is what we need to deliver in 6 months. I need you to deliver this thing in 6 months. Because before those guys left, they already set timelines and all. So I said, okay, so I'll write on it. And to the glory of God, I delivered in 3 months. Now, yes, I delivered in 3 months, not because I was automation guru, but because I was very rugged and get with it. Why I was on that project, I was disturbing my entire office. All the developers, I was on their neck. Now, the hard part of that project was to integrate it with CI/CD pipeline. I had no knowledge of what CI/CD was there. So I always walk up to the developers. We spent time, we did this thing for almost more than a month. The day the pipeline ran and passed, it was as if Nigeria won World Cup within the office space. Like the whole office was shaking, everybody was clapping, jumping because yes, you can imagine how I've disturbed the entire office. So it was a day of jubilation. The pipeline was running, automation was running. And I think 2 months later or a month later, my manager got his promotion because he delivered. And I also got my first promotion with, salary increments. Now, the way I learned automation, I had no programming experience. The way I learned automation, I learned by understanding the framework, understanding the structure, paying attention to how they move things around and all. It was after I learned automation, I started learning programming language, like going deeper. Now I know there are going to be a lot of questions around this. Can I learn automation without coding background? All this we are going to answer in the course of this session tonight. All right. So introduction. Manual testing is not a lesser skill. In fact, strong automation testers are usually grounded in good manual testing principles. Automation is not about abandoning manual testing. It is about using tools and scripts to make testing faster, repeatable, and more reliable. So what are we trying to say here? All we are saying is for you to be a better automation tester, your foundation is very important. Your manual testing skills is very important. You can't be because the truth is, even if a job requires automation, you'll be surprised that probably 60 to 70% of your job is still coming from the foundational aspects. Are you good in writing test cases? How is your bug reporting like? How do you, document and stuff like that? So manual testing is very, very important. Don't skip that part. Don't say because jobs are asking for automation, I need to quickly know. Like we said, one step at a time. I started learning automation after 1 year into my career. I didn't start the first year. I started the second year, you know. So you do not become a good automation tester by jumping straight into tools. You become good by first understanding testing deeply. So we are still saying the same thing. So why many manual testers want to transition to automation? These are some of the reasons. One is career growth, which is very understandable. Again, we've seen testers that refuse to transition. They just want to do manual testing, which is okay to some extent. There are some jobs that what it requires are manual testing, not automation. Just that you hardly see jobs like that. But yes, there are testers that what they do is strictly manual. They don't do anything automation or coding. Yes, there's better opportunity, high demand in the job markets, faster regression execution, more confidence working in modern engineering teams, ability to control beyond only manual execution. So this is some of the reasons why testers want to transition into automation. Manual testers. But the goal should not be, let me learn automation because everybody is doing it or because jobs are asking for it. The right mindset is, let me learn automation so that I can solve testing problems better. One of the testing problems you could solve better is, faster execution, repeatable scripts. So that should be the right mindset. Now, the importance of fundamentals and strong foundation. So we've made emphasis on not neglecting or skipping the fundamentals or your foundation, which is the manual testing. Before moving into automation, a tester must spend time building strong fundamental skills. Why fundamentals matter? Automation script only checks what you tell them to do. That's what is basic truth. It's what you write, the script you write, the instruction you give, that's what the automation will do. If you write 10 scripts and you leave that 10 script for the next 10 years, that's what it's going to do for the next 10 years. It's not going to change. If your test thinking is weak, your automation will also be weak, which is true. Poor understanding of test design leads to fragile, low-value scripts. Two changes, yes, but testing principle remains valuable. For example, when I want to automate, sometimes I look at it from the business standpoint. I look at, instead of just automating randomly. Let me focus on the critical aspect of the application. What are the core features of the application? This requires foundational knowledge. I know the different priorities. I know the business flow. I know what is critical to the business, and I'm bringing this into my automation scripts. So still on the foundation, strong foundation areas includes understanding requirement clearly, writing good test cases, knowing happy part, negative part, edge cases. All these can still be applied to your automation script. Identifying risk area, knowing how system behaves, communicating defect clearly, and thinking like both the user and the business. Imagine I'm a developer, I know how to code very well, and they give me a script. I build automation script. Now, when it's time for bug reporting, I'm just writing jargons, or they ask me to write a test case. Reason why we keep saying the foundational knowledge is very, very important. So automation does not replace test thinking, it amplifies it. One thing you need to know that, like I said, automation is based on the instruction you give, the script you write. Automation cannot think for you. Automation cannot do exploratory testing. It's that knowledge you have that you translate into automation testing. So, what are the basic things to learn first before jumping into automation, like Playwright, Cypress, Selenium? We've mentioned all this before. The testing fundamentals. You need to understand SDLC, STLC, types of testing, test case design technique, bug reporting, regression testing, smoke, risk-based testing, API basics, UI, and backend flow understanding. All these, you can get them from your fundamentals, foundational knowledge. Now, we've talked about the testing fundamentals, So we're just looking at some of the basic things to learn first before fully transitioning into automation. So we look at some of the testing fundamentals. Now we're looking at the basic, the technical fundamentals, basic programming language logic. So we said basic, not like deep, to the point of you want to build an application. You can get to that point, but what you need to get started is just the basics. So like the basic programming, data variable, condition, loops, function, etc. Now, next is web fundamentals. Lucky for me, even before QA, I already knew how to build website using HTML and CSS. So I had, this web fundamentals knowledge. So understanding how the website works, the HTML, CSS basic, DOM structure, locators, browser dev tool, network request basics, like client-server communication. So these are on web, fundamentals. All this you find on your web browser by just simply expecting your elements. You can get the locator, see the HTML structure, the CSS behind it, and so on. So yep. So next is sorry. Yeah, so version control. This speaks to like Git basics, the GitHub, the GitLab, the Jenkins, understanding how to clone, how to push your code to Git repository, how branches work, how to, do pull requests and so on. Because when we talk about automation, it goes beyond just writing scripts. There's a collaborative part, there's a version controlling part, being able to push your code the same way the developers push their codes to the source control. So all those basic knowledge are required. Then API basics, HTTP method, the get, the post. Because the truth is, even when we're automating UI, there are cases where we need to call some API requests, so that our automation flow can go hand to hand. So some API basic skills are also required, understanding Postman, different method, the pull requests. I know we did API last week. Yep. So the basic skills are also required. Now, when is the right time to transition? Is it 1 month? Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? Is it 1 year? Like myself, there's no perfect dates, but there are signs that you are ready. And you are ready to start transitioning when you understand manual testing very well. That's the first um, uh, that's the first thing you need to consider. Am I very grounded in manual testing? If your answer is yes, then that's the right time. So still on when to transition, can I write solid test cases? Understand how the web application works? Am I good in identifying and reporting bugs? Are you willing to learn programming language patiently? Are you ready to practice consistently? You understand the automation is a journey, not a magic. So when is the right time? The right time is when you are fully grounded in manual testing. So when I say fully grounded, it's not just I've done training, I've tested one app, I've written few test cases. No, that's not enough. At least you should have. If I want to add time frame to this, if I want to, I would say 1 year. But again, because we know the demand in the industry, most jobs are looking for testers with basic automation skills. So I'll say at least from 6 months, at least from 6 months, you can say you want to transition. So trying to transition at 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you're just trying to rush yourself. How long will it take you to get the fundamentals, your foundation solid, understanding manual testing very well? I'll say maybe from 6 months, but it now depends on you. You are in the best position to answer that question, you know. All right, so best advice, start transitioning once your manual foundation is stable, not necessarily when you feel 100% ready. You know, you can't learn everything manual in 1 year, even 2 years, There are still new techniques, still some new testing I still discover today, So, but when you feel you're stable when it comes to the fundamentals, you can do the basic things from test cases to bug reporting and so on. Then the answer is yes. So, what manual tester must understand about automation? So, automation is best for repetitive tests. Example, when I was in Conga that year too, one of my tasks is to run sanity test every morning. And what that entails is that I test the end-to-end flow of the shopping app from searching. No, you log in, you search for a product, you add to cart, you check out, input address, and you make payments. Imagine me doing that every morning and every evening manually. And then I used to enjoy myself when I started. While inside the BR3 bus on my way to the office, I'm already doing my sanity test, testing the app on my Android and on my iOS mobile devices. So before I get to the office, I've already done my sanity test. And before I close for the day, I do another round of check. And why do we do this? Just to make sure that production is going as expected. And those are the core features, because if any of those flow breaks, the application is as good as users. If customer cannot log in, problem. If they can't search or add to cart, problem. Even if they can log in, search to cart, and they can't check out, problem. If they can't make payment. So all those things, I need to make sure that they are working. So this is like a repetitive test or repetitive regression sanity checks I do every day. So after a year of, going through that rigorous exercise, then I learned automation. I decided to write a script that automates this flow for me, and that made my life easy. So every day at a particular time, because you can schedule your test, you just run the test, sends the reports. When I see red, I know there's problem, but when it's green, everywhere is soft, So we move on. Then automation is best for stable workflows, critical business flow, data-driven validation. Some of these might be a bit, technical for some of us, but these are like automation framework. I've talked about the critical features of your application, then fast feedback in CI/CD. So when we talk about continuous integration and continuous deployments, I'm referring to like your GitHub actions, your Jenkins, your Azure and the likes. So here it says not everything should be automated. A smart tester knows when to automate, what not to automate, and why. So all we are just looking at today is how to transition from manual to automation. I started by sharing my own story, and how I got into automation. Yeah, so next slide, basic automation skills to learn. Once your fundamentals are strong, begin learning the core skills. Again, you start small, you learn the basics. From understanding the basics, you advance to more in-depth in that particular area. So basic automation skills to learn, programming language, UI automation basics. When I talked about like your browser, understanding the HTML, CSS, how to identify locators on your browsers, then reusable function, page objects, debugging skills, very important, test automation framework basics, CI/CD awareness. So these are some of the basic skills, to learn if you want to transition into automation. When I shared my own story, to be honest, in programming, I'll say over 10. I'll score myself maybe a 2 or a 3. Let me say a 2 over 10. API automation basic here, I had little knowledge around this. Debugging is 0. UI automation basic is 0. Test automation framework is 0. CI/CD pipeline is 0. I learned the unstructured way, like I told you guys, I had no programming language. I just walk up to someone that knows, automation, and he taught me this guy, step 4, the test framework. So he showed me how the framework works, how the framework is built. The only thing I learned was the framework. So by understanding the framework, I jumped to this guy, programming language. By automating, I started learning this guy, debugging. By, automating too, while he taught me the framework, I also learned how to, get locators, do assertion, add weights, and so on. And when I finally got the chance to automate, I never had experience around CI/CD. But because my manager decided to throw me in the center of the ocean, I decided to learn CI/CD from my colleagues, my developers in the house. I was, disturbing them back to back, and that was how I, was able to merge everything together and learn the basic automation skills. Talked about this. Now, step-by-step roadmap for transitioning. What's our time? Okay, we're still on track. The first one is stage 1, strengthen manual testing. We've talked about this. Stage 2, learn basic programming language. Start small, practice logic daily, solve beginner coding tasks, understand syntax and flow control. And the good thing is that there are a lot of sites like W3 School, Coding Bootcamp, and a lot of websites that you can learn basic programming language, practicals, examples, exercises. So as they are teaching you, they are giving you tasks and you are solving it on the go. Learn web and API basic. You need to understand HTML, CSS, DOM, Then stage 4, pick one automation tools. Choose one tool only at first. Example, is it Playwright? Is it Selenium? Is it Postman, Newman for API? I started with Selenium. From Selenium, I moved to Catalan. From Catalan, I moved to Appium for mobile. From Appium, then I moved to Cypress. From Cypress, I moved to Playwright. And here we are today. Then Stage 5, start automating simple scenarios like login, sign up, search, add to cart. Stage 6, learn framework structure. One of the most popular framework that most, automation or say people use today is the page objects modeling. I started with data-driven framework. Then, I started with data-driven framework. Now, you need to learn framework structure. I told you the way I started was just to learn the framework structure. Then stage 7, build real projects. When you learn automation, build a project, automate a project, save it in your GitHub or your portfolio so you have something to show. Stage 8, you need to learn how to integrate your automation on CI/CD pipeline. So we have a lot of testers today who have learned automation, but they've not graduated to this stage. Like I always tell testers, don't wait until they create that platform for you. Utilize what you have. You don't need to be part of your automation team before you start learning. Your company has an application, be it web or mobile. On your free time, start automating those applications. You'll be surprised. You automate a feature, you show it to your team lead, and wow, Shegun has started automating. I think we need to promote him or add him to automation team. Sometimes it's not just by hacking. When you show proof or you show commitments to your leads, they will be eager to, help you grow in that area. So we have popular automation tools. You can get familiar with all this. I just added this just to show us. Now, common mistakes to avoid. Mistake number 1, rushing into tools without foundation. We've been talking about this, trying to skip your manual testing parts, because you want to automate. And don't even try to say you want to do both at the same time. No, one after the other. Try to learn too many tools at once. I was once in these shoes, trying to learn too many tools, and I realized there was no headway. I was not progressing. I was just more like in the same spot until my mentor back then told me that I need to drop some and focus on just one. Avoiding programming fundamentals. Yes, before QA, I hated programming. In fact, I don't like programming. So because of programming, I was shying away from tech until I entered into tech through QA. And along the line, I realized that I need to learn the basics. And from there, I started enjoying programming. Secondly, trying to automate everything. That's another costly mistake you can make. You can't automate everything. You need to know what to automate and not what to automate. We talked about ignoring manual testing skills, writing test script without assertion. These are automation testing techniques that you learn, when you begin learning automation. Not learning Gits, and finally giving up too early. Yes, some of us are we're very quick to giving up, when we try our hands on something and we are not getting it, and there are a few of us that when we try our hands on something and it's not forthcoming, we just tell ourselves we die here. The days where I was learning automation, there are times where my code will not run and I'll be there for like 2 days, 3 days looking for the issue. And maybe probably on the third day could be one comma that was missing. It can be that bad, But, those debugging, those troubleshooting really helped me understand deeper and better. I got to a point that when I see a particular error message, I already know where the problem is coming from, So don't give up too early. Don't give up too early. Just once the time comes, even in this manual testing, as you're learning, keep learning. When you transition, keep learning, don't give up too early. Now, we are moving towards the end. Mindset shift needed. To transition successfully, manual tester must shift from only executing tests to designing repeatable checks. From only finding bugs to preventing defect early. So that's the mindset shift of transitioning from manual to automation. Then thirdly, it says only using tools to understanding the system. you know. So don't just pick the two, you need to understand the system. And fear of coding, just start small, practice coding gradually, and you keep, improving. So you do not need to become a full software engineer before you start automation. You only need to become comfortable enough with the technical skills to automate valuable tests well. And from there, you keep improving and getting better by the day. Then in closing, manual testing is the foundation. Automation is an extension. Please, let's sink that in our head. Automation is not the foundation, it is an extension. Manual testing is the foundation, automation is an extension. But I say it's just like an add-ons. The best automation testers are not those who know the most tools, but those who understand testing deeply, product risks, good framework, where automation create value. So the real transition is not just manual tester to automation tester. It is manual executor to quality engineer with technical depth. And you guys will hear me say in some of my previous sessions, when it comes to hiring, my final decision is not on your technical skill. No, it's on your soft skill and your foundational skill. So if I ask you real life scenarios and I see that you can't think beyond the ordinary, there's high chances someone else will do better than you. Your technical skill is good. It's just an hand-on. I've interviewed two candidates before where one was very technical. Yes, but I realized that this guy has fundamental, key leg or challenges. He doesn't understand processes, and he's looking like someone that is going to be an headache if he joins the team. And this is the other person. This one showing eagerness to want to learn. This one is trying to think beyond the ordinary. And I could see critically thinking. I could see potentials in this person from the way he or she is answering questions, even though he was not answering correctly, but I could see potentials. I could see critical thinking. I could see attention to details, And sincerely, I picked this guy over the technical one, and I never regretted it today. He came in, he was a fast learner, he was paying attention to details, he was, So your manual testing is the foundation. Very, very important. So we're currently in the Q&A session. Before I allow you to ask your question, I told you that I've put some questions together. So I might have answered your question in this Q&A part. So question one, should everyone in QA learn automation? Not necessarily, because every tester should at least understand the basics of automation. Some QA roles remain heavily manual, exploratory, business focus on domain focus. However, in today's market, having automation knowledge gives you an advantage. That's question one. Question two, do I need to master manual testing before learning automation? You do not need to know everything, but you should have a solid foundation in manual testing. I said it before. If you cannot design good test case manually, your automation script will be likely weak. So, do I need to master manual testing before learning automation? Yes, but you do not need to learn everything. Just start with the basics. Question three, when is the right time to transition into automation? The right time is when you already understand the testing basics, product flows, you are ready to learn programming language with patience. You do not need to wait forever, but do not rush in without the foundation. Like I said earlier, you are in the best position to know if you are ready. 4, is coding compulsory for automation testing? Yes. To test a reasonable yes, to a reasonable extent. So even with low code tools, there are some tools that don't even require coding. It's just record and play, but you still need to understand the coding behind it. You should be able to interpret the script. So coding knowledge is necessary for beginners. You do not need to be an expert developer. I've said that before. You just need to understand the fundamental, the basics, so that when you are looking at a script, you can interpret that script. You can, tell what this is and what that is doing. Question 5, which programming language should I learn first? Choose one based on your market, your team, or preferred tools. So there's JavaScript, there's Python, there's Java. If you don't belong to a team and probably you're just learning on your own, I'll say probably you can start with JavaScript. Selenium uses all the programming language. Cypress is built on JavaScript. Playwright, so you can test it on JavaScript or TypeScript, either of those two. Python is more of Selenium. Then Java, also more of Selenium. Yep. So for many beginners in web automation, JavaScript with Playwright or Cypress is a strong starting point. 6, can I move into automation even if I'm scared of coding? Yes, you can. Many testers start that way. I started that way. The key is to learn gradually, practice daily, and avoid comparing yourself with developers. Focus on the basic logic first, then automation use cases. Question 8, does automation replace manual testing? No. Automation supports manual testing. It does not replace it completely. Exploratory testing, usability testing, compatibility testing, risk testing, human judgment still matters a lot. Question 9, how long does it take to transition from manual to automation? Again, it depends on your consistency, your background, and your practice level. Someone who lets gradually build projects and applies the skills on real work can make visible growth and progress within a month, which is very true. Lastly, what makes someone fail in transitioning? Common reasons why you fail in transitioning includes lack of patience, skipping the fundamentals, trying too many tools at the same time, fear of coding, not practicing with real projects. Consistency matters more than speed. All right, thank you. So that brings us to the end of today's session.